Bethesda's first Fallout game that they developed was Fallout 3, and one of the first things they went ahead and did was get the game banned in Australia for references to drug and drug usage. Way to go, Bethesda. I'm just joking, of course. It didn't actually happen like that. Yes, it is true that Fallout 3 was technically banned by the Australian government and not allowed for sale in the country at first, but this is arguably more the fault of the classification system in Australia at the time, rather than the actual content Bethesda added inside of Fallout 3. But before we get into the details of the story, let's go back in time a little bit and discuss the actual development of Fallout 3. In July of 2004, Bethesda started development on their version of Fallout 3. Previous to this, the team over at Black Isle Studios had put a lot of time and development into creating another Fallout game, codenamed Van Buren. However, this all changed when Interplay licensed the rights to the Fallout series to Bethesda in 2004. Bethesda decided, at that time, that the best course of action would be to develop the game from scratch instead of using the Van Buren code or any other materials that was made by Black Isle Studios for Van Buren. Using the Gamebryo engine, which was the same one used for the recently released Elder Scrolls Oblivion, this new Fallout 3 had the intention of recreating Washington, D.C. as a nuclear wasteland. Aside from rebuilding the entire story from the ground up for this game, Bethesda also spent a lot of time and resources adding new features and stories that still fit with the original game theme. In an interview with game developer 1 month before Fallout 3's release, Bethesda's lead writer explained that he really wanted to use the original Fallout game as a model while creating Fallout 3. It's no secret that the original Fallout game was created with the intention for mature audiences, and Fallout 3's development followed a similar path. For example, having heavy references to slavery and cannibalism inside of the story, as well as a huge emphasis on gore. I had to censor some of this to match with YouTube's advertiser guidelines, but just take a look at this clip from E3 where Todd Howard is showing off the weapons in the VAT system.
Chance to hit, and then cue up these moves, and then zap.
Then it pulls you out, you get the cinematic camera.
That's all we have. Just guys blowing up everywhere.
I could do that for 100 hours.
One of the main aspects that has been prevalent inside the Fallout series since the beginning are drugs and drug use. Fallout 2, for example, not only invented drugs exclusively for the in-game universe, such as Jet, but also made quite a few references in-game to real-world drugs. And again, Fallout 3 was no exception. In July of 2008, when Fallout 3 was nearing completion and was ready for classification, there were rumors that a notable country refused to provide a rating for Fallout 3, meaning that it couldn't legally be sold in the country. And that country was Australia. Before I go further with this story, I feel it's important that I provide some context about video game classification as well as Australia's classification board, or ACB, directly. In most countries, video games require what's called a content rating to determine what the government determines suitable for a target audience. This is mainly done before the game can legally be distributed inside of the country. I'm going to use the United States and Canada's rating system, or ESRB, as an example for what this can look like. The classifications for video games here start with E for everyone, meaning no restrictions, and go all the way up to adults only, meaning that the game is restricted by age and can only be purchased by people who are over 18 years old. For context, Fallout 3 was rated by the ESRB system as M for mature, which is restricted to people aged 17 and older. Now, where this becomes a problem for Australia specifically is in 2008, Australia's rating board looked like this. The highest possible rating from the ACB at the time was MA15, which is restricted to people aged 15 or older. Since this was the highest rating, this meant, in practice, any title that has content deemed unsuitable for a 15-year-old was illegal to sell or promote in the country of Australia. I don't live in Australia, but from the research I've done for this video, I've seen a lot of posts from gamers that suggest this type of rating refusal for popular games was, and still is, very common. Fallout 3 is one of the most anticipated games of 2008, so rumors of the refusal rating by the Australian Classification Board spread pretty quickly. There were a number of mature rated aspects in Fallout 3 that could probably warrant such a refusal, but nobody really knew what it was at the time. Finally, in late July 2008, Australia's Office of Film and Literature Classification released a copy of their ruling on Fallout 3, stating that the refusal was because Fallout 3 contained, quote, material promoting or encouraging prescribed drug use. The ruling further explains, the player can also select and use morphine, a proscribed drug, which has the positive effect of enabling the character to ignore limb pain when the character's extremities are targeted by the enemy. So it turns out that one of the things that Bethesda added to Fallout 3 in the initial release was morphine. And because this morphine increased damage resistance, the ACB determined that this was enough of an incentive to encourage drug use, which is prohibited by the MA15 rating. Therefore, Australia refused classification. So what was Bethesda's response to this? In September of 2008, a little over a month before the game was released globally, Bethesda's Vice President of Public Relations, Peter Hines, said in an interview with Edge magazine, quote, an issue was raised concerning references to real-world prescribed drugs in the game, and we subsequently removed those references and replaced them with fictional names. To avoid confusion among people in different territories, we decided to make those substitutions in all versions of the game in all territories. There are no references to real-world drugs in any version of Fallout 3. So with this being said, any references to using drugs were changed, with the name drug being replaced by chem in future games. The chem, morphine, in Fallout 3 was changed to Med-X, a change that's still used today. And with these changes implemented, Fallout 3 was re-reviewed by the ACB and received a MA15 rating, allowing the game to be released in Australia. Fallout 3 went on to ship over 4 million copies in the first week alone. Finally, the ACB eventually added an 18+ rating in 2012. However, they still refuse rating some games to this day. So overall, at the end, everybody was happy, except for Australian gamers, which I want to say you have my sympathy, because after researching this video, I have nothing but distaste for your classification system, and I feel bad for what you guys have to go through when it comes to re-releasing new games. But that's all I have for you guys on the story of how Australia banned Fallout 3. I want to thank you guys for stopping by and watching. Do you think Australians' classification system is ridiculous, or do you think they did the right thing? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a great day.